Reagan Robertson here with Productive Dentist Academy. Get ready to join your favorite podcast hosts, Dr. Bruce B. Baird, Victoria Peterson, Dr. Chad Johnson, and myself, Reagan Robertson, at the nation's #1 dental business course that guarantees practice growth. That's right. Full immersion CE, so you can consistently produce more and align your team for results without compromising excellent patient care. Productive Dentist Academy has a special running this month that you can activate immediately. It's called the PDA Productivity Bundle. And we put this together so that you could attend this workshop, which is happening September 22nd to the 24th in Frisco, Texas at the Hyatt Regency, along with tools to make sure that not only are you getting great education on how to increase your productivity, how to communicate better with your team and your patients, increase your case acceptance, authentic market practice, and more, you also get a 2-hour business advisory session before the workshop to really get clear on what matters to you most so that you can be set up for success at the workshop. And following the workshop, you get 12 months access to PDA on demand. That is the entire productivity workshop on demand for you to make sure that you are doing everything you can in your power to soak up all of that CE and implement it come Monday morning, the next month, and the next month, and the next month for 12 months down the line. Registration is now open. The tuition cost is $2,195, which is ridiculous because it's regularly $5,528 for the productivity workshop attendance, 2-hour business advisory session, and 12 months access to PDA on demand. Hop on over right now to www.productivedentist.com/workshop to grab your registration today. Again, that is www.productivedentist.com/workshop. If you cannot wait and you have to have it right now, email Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at productivedentist.com. That's Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at productivedentist.com, and we will save you a seat. I look forward to seeing you there.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. What I want to talk about today is kind of the concept, because I've been hearing this a lot. So you're ready to sell your practice. I've heard a lot of dentists going, I don't want to deal with this COVID stuff. A lot of these guys are in mid-career or even in late career, and they're saying, hey, I want out, and I think that's a little premature. I think now if they're in a position where, if you're in a position where you could sell your practice and do really well, and you have another occupation, or you're an entrepreneur and you've got other businesses that are creating revenue, then yeah, I can see where you might do that. Let me give you a different way of thinking right now. What if you decided, okay, I want to get out, but I don't want to have a fire sale, because that's exactly what's happening right now. With a glut of practices going out of business, with a glut of that, the valuation of the dental practice is going to drop, and it's going to drop significantly until it shakes out. Meaning, I know that 10, 12, 15% of practices are going out of business. And that's what I've seen across. You can buy used equipment, you can buy a lot of things. And there are a lot of opportunistic dentists that are going and buying up these practices at fire sale prices. Don't do that. Step back, take a deep breath, and think a little bit. Think about how long you've worked and how hard you've worked to build the kind of practice that you've built. And yes, it can be frustrating. Yes, it can be tough. But think about that. Think about that type of practice that you've built. And then look at, what we're going to be doing with Productive Dentist Academy is we're going to be asking questions. when are you thinking about selling your practice? If you're within 1 to 3 years of selling your practice, we can come in and help your practice during those 2 to 3 years and take you from a valuation of 5 or 600,000 EBITDA to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $1 million, $4 million in a very short period of time, 2 to 3 years, or even less. I mean, we've seen practices double in 1 year. But so let's find ways to maximize your value. A lot of dentists think, well, it comes down to, well, we've got to have all brand new equipment. We've got to have all this thing. There's a few pieces of equipment we may recommend for you, but you don't need a whole brand new office. It comes down to revenue and it comes down to marketing. So one of the things that PDA has done, Productive Dentist Academy has done so well over the years, is helping dentists market to the type procedures and the type dentistry that they want to do. So, if you're one of these dentists who've just been kind of on autopilot, and that's what happens to a lot of dentists, we just get on autopilot. We're not really growing. And that old saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. But, you're not growing. You're just at a plateau and you're just sitting there rolling along. And the value that you have is the value that you're going to have. But we have been able to help practices go from 6, 7, 800,000 to 1.6 to 2 million to 2.5. Now in 3 years when you sell, guess what? You have just set up fully funding, in many cases, your retirement for the future. So I would just be very hesitant not to just get in the sale mode right now. I think now's a time to buckle down. Yes, things are going to be different, and it certainly is different when you look around. You look around the country and you see, the practices closing. You see revenue going to zero during March and April, and the fear of the pandemic. But that's kind of like the fear when the market starts going down. And, the market goes down like I told you guys I did back in 2008. I sold all my stock. And if I would have hung on to it, I would have tripled my revenue in my retirement plan in just 7 years. Instead, I was scared. And so when you're scared, you do things that may not be in your own best interest. So I want you to step away from the ledge. You're not going to, maybe it is time for you to sell. Maybe it is, and you've gotten things and you understand business and you've been able to put revenue aside and you have secondary streams of income. And if that's the case, fantastic. You do what you need to do. But when I look at 90% of the dental practices out there, and the dentist is in the 45 to, let's say, 60 range, and they're thinking of selling, it's like, what kind of value could you increase for yourself in just a short period of time that could make a huge difference? And so those are the things I look at. And we can help increase your productivity per hour. We can help you with your leadership skills and getting your team on board, and with team success. Not only that, we can even help you find the right buyers at the right time. And we have a lot of relationships with dentists all over the country that are looking for good practices to purchase. So these are all the kind of things that, in my mind, need to come to the forefront of your thought process, not let's sell when everybody else is selling. And, I hope that makes sense. The other thing that, that I've looked at, and one of the things that Productive Dentist has been, really working on for a long time, is this scheduling and how do I schedule my patients. And I've talked about scheduling many times on the podcast, but what you need to remember, and I'm going to reiterate this, you look at the statistics, and come November, December, you got to look out that far and see how does your hygiene schedule look then, 6 months after March, 6 months after April. Is it full? Is it not full? Because now's the time to begin filling that schedule. Because what you're going to find is, yes, we have a lot of practices that have had record months in the last 2 months, June and July. Certainly May and June, and many are going to have a third record month this month. The thing to remember is this going to continue? And the ADA, they've come out with a report that says it's starting to flatten a little bit. So am I worried about that? No, not if I'm doing the right thing. Not if I'm saying the right things to patients, not if I'm reaching out and talking to those patients now. If I'm reaching out and talking to these patients now and getting them on the schedule and getting them on the books, and then when you are scheduling, what you're scheduling is the higher production procedures for now. The biggest advantage there with higher production procedures is your production per hour is going to be higher during this time frame. And also the pent-up demand that we've seen. That pent-up demand for dentistry, it's there. Also, marketing. Many dentists, the ones that we work with, they've increased their marketing during this post-COVID time. They've actually increased their marketing, and they're seeing an unbelievable advantage because many dentists are still running scared, and they're afraid. They're actually afraid, excuse me, they're afraid to do much. They're not marketing. They're only seeing certain emergency patients, or they're really not getting back into their full swing. Well, a lot of these patients are wondering, because I hear it now a lot, are y'all taking new patients? Are you taking new patients? Well, yes, we are. So there's actually patients looking for dentists that are ready to go and looking for dentists who are following the protocols for PPE and doing all those things. So there's a unique opportunity now. But I don't want you just to think, oh, things are back and we've had 3 record months. I want you to be proactive and look at your schedule, look at hygiene schedule, look at November, look at October. Because when you look at those time frames, if you're not fully booked then, start working it. Start working those names that got off the schedule. And we need to say, Mary, our hygienists, we only have 2 hygienists or 3 hygienists. We used to have 5. I know we're going to get you in and find times to put them in the schedule. You may even have to do, which I'm not a big fan of, you may even have to do some expanded hygiene. So you can put in more patients per day for a short period of time. I do not believe in that long term. I'm a dentist who believes in relationship building, and I don't really care. I want my hygienist to be able to spend full amount of time with the patients and build that great relationship. The scary times are when, you're in this accelerated hygiene. Yeah, you might be making an extra $400 a day, $500 a day, but through the relationships that my hygienists build, I may be producing an extra $5,000 a day. So, you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, and so you just have to be really, really aware of that. So those are some things that kind of come to the, come to my mind. The things that we need to be aware of and the things that we need to look out for. So, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Don't jump off the cliff and sell your practice. Do whatever it takes to survive this period of time. So anyway, thanks for listening, and sign up with us on iTunes and tell your friends about it. Thanks so much. Talk to you next week. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.